man had persuaded her to take the day off.
What does he do, this young man?
Frank Carter is, or was, an insurance clerk. He lost his job a few weeks ago and seems unable to get another.
Did your brother try and persuade her to break off her engagement?
Oh, yes, he did, as a matter of fact.
So this Frank Carter would quite possibly have a grudge against your brother.
It's that Miss Neville. She's back in a rare taking, she is.
The whole thing was a wicked practical joke. There wasn't anything wrong with Auntie at all. She couldn't understand it when I suddenly turned up.
Are you quite sure it wasn't your friend, Mr. Carter, who sent this telegram?
Frank? Whatever for? Oh, I see what you mean. A put-up job between us. We wouldn't do a thing like that.
Tell me, mademoiselle, what patients had Monsieur Mollet this morning?
They're all in here. At 10 o'clock, Mrs. Soames, about her new plate. 10:30, Lady Gregson. She's an elderly lady. 11 o'clock, Mr. Hercule Poirot. Oh, that's you, isn't it? 11:30, Mr. Alistair Blunt. You know, the banker. Then Miss Sainsbury Seal. She's just back from India. 12 o'clock, Mr. Amberiotis. He was a new patient. Made his appointment from the Astoria Hotel. And 12:30, Mrs. Pinner. She comes up from Worthing.
If you please, Alfred, tell me, is it possible for anyone to enter the house without you having to let them in?
No. No, not a chance. Well, not unless they got a key anyway.
But it is quite easy for them to leave the house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Most of them come down the stairs while I'm taking the new party up in the lift, see?
Did you see Mr. Amberiotis leave?
No. No, he must have let himself out.
But you are quite sure that nobody else came to the house this morning, only the patients?
That Miss Neville's young man came round. In a bit of a paddy he was not to find her here.
We haven't heard about this before.
Well, when I told him Miss Neville was out for the day, he got quite shirty. Said he'd wait and see Mr. Morley. But then he went into the waiting room. You must have seen him there, sir.
Ah, yes. The troubled young man who would not sit down.
Yeah, must have got tired of waiting, I suppose. He wasn't there later.
Why, Chief Inspector Japp? An officer of your eminence? Is he usually called in to a case of apparent suicide?
Alistair Blunt was here. Mr. Blunt is the kind of person we take care of in this country.
You mean that there are certain people who would like him out of the way?
You bet there are. The Reds, to begin with, and our black-shirted friends. It's Blunt and his group who are standing behind the present government.
That is more or less as I guessed. Tell me something about Monsieur Blunt, Chief Inspector.
Alistair Blunt. He controls all the Arnholt interests in Europe, as well as the merchant banks. He married into the family. We won't spend too long with him. I want to get onto the Astoria. As it stands at the moment, this Mr. Amberiotis was the last person to see Mr. Morley alive.
This is the second occasion this year that my allowance has not been paid on time, Alistair.
You must talk to the bank, Julia, or to the trustees.
Only my poor dear sister was still alive.
If she were alive, Mother, you couldn't benefit from her will.
That is a wicked thing to say, Jane.
It's not wicked, it's true.
The truth is often wicked.
I'm sorry, Julie, this is not my business. When I die, the capital will come to you to do with exactly as you wish. Until then...
Until then, I am expected to exist. I won't say live. On the pittance from the trust.
$25,000 a year can scarcely be called a pittance.
Do you think Rebecca intended me to live on your charity?
It is not charity. Yes, Miss Montresor.
A Chief Inspector Japp and a Mr. Poirot to see you, sir.
Really? Would you show them in, please? Chief Inspector Japp.
How do you do, sir? This is Mr. Hercule Poirot.
Oh, I know your name, of course, Monsieur Poirot. But surely somewhere, quite recently...
This morning, Monsieur Blunt. In the waiting room of the dentist. Ce pauvre Monsieur Morley.
Yes, of course. I knew I'd seen you somewhere. Pauvre?
Mr. Morley was found dead, sir, shortly after you left. An apparent suicide.
Suicide?
What an extraordinary thing.
Forgive me, I'm sorry. This is my niece, Miss Oliveira, and her mother, Mrs. Oliveira.
Mademoiselle, Madame.
I've never heard of a dentist committing suicide before. Wouldn't happen in the States, you can be sure of that. They're too damn rich to kill themselves.
He seemed in good health and spirits this morning, Mr. Blunt?
Well, I think so, yes.
Have you seen him often?
This is my third or fourth visit.
Monsieur Blunt, who was it that recommended to you Monsieur Morley originally?
Arnholt, one of my directors, Lionel Arnholt.
And we're just wondering, you see, sir, whether it wasn't suicide, but murder. And the real target was yourself.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, none of it does at the moment, sir. That's the problem.
Good evening.
We'd like to see Mr. Amberiotis.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm afraid you can't.
Oh, yes, I can, my lad. Police.
You don't understand, sir. Mr. Amberiotis died half an hour ago.
Interesting.
Interesting, Dr. Bennet?
Mr. Amberiotis died of heart failure.
Heart failure?
Brought about by an overdose of adrenaline and Novocaine.
How large an overdose?
Oh, I can't say yet. These quantitative analyses take time. I'll be able to tell you tomorrow.
Novocaine's the stuff dentists give you, isn't it?
That's right, Chief Inspector. The subject had been to the dentist, I believe.
Yes, I'll keep it in the notes.
What a washout.
What do you mean, Chief Inspector?
Morley makes a mistake and injects an overdose. Then when Amberiotis has gone, he realises what he's done, can't face the music and shoots himself.
With a pistol he is not known to possess?
Relations don't know everything.
No, that is true, of course.
Well, there we are then.
All the same, Chief Inspector, it does not quite satisfy me.
Ah, cheer up, Poirot. We can't have a nice, juicy murder every time.
Committed suicide? Mr. Morley?
Poor man. I suppose he had something on his mind. Such worrying times we live in.
Did he seem worried to you, Miss Sainsbury, sir?
Well, I can't really say, that he did.
Can you tell us who else was in the waiting room while you were there?
Let me see. There was just one young man there when I went in. I think he was in pain because he was muttering to himself and looking quite wild. And then suddenly he jumped up and went out.
And he was the only other patient that you noticed?
A gentleman came down the stairs and went out, just as I went up to Mr. Morley. Oh, and I remember a very peculiar foreigner came out of the house just as I arrived.
That was I, madame.
Oh, dear. Oh, do forgive me. Oh, the light in here is so dim.
Please, calm yourself, madame.
Well, I think that's about all, Miss Sainsbury Seal. We may require you to give evidence at the inquest, of course.
Oh, no. I will be so nervous.
Well, no need to be nervous, madam. Just stand up and speak clearly.
Oh, that's very amusing, Chief Inspector.
Is it?
I used to be an actress. Just small parts, Then I went on a world tour.
Yes, well...
My name should be in the papers. As a witness at the inquest, I mean. You will be sure that it's spelt right, won't you? Miss Maybelle Sainsbury Seal. Maybelle spelled M-A-B-E-L-L-E.
Blimey.
I can only give you a few moments, I'm afraid, Mr. Poirot. Going to see Traviata at Covent Garden.
Thank you, Monsieur Arnold.
What's this all about?
It is about the death of the dentist, Monsieur Henry Morley. It was you, was it not, who recommended him to Monsieur Blunt?
Yes, I've been going to him for years. You don't think I killed him, do you?
Oh, no. Quelle idée. No. It is just that I'm given to wonder whether Monsieur Blunt was not perhaps the intended victim.
I don't quite see how that works.
No. At this moment, Monsieur Arnold, neither do I. One grips at the straws. But tell me, Madame Oliveira, the sister-in-law to Monsieur Blunt, she is une dame formidable, n'est-ce pas?
Oh, indeed.
Right. How did Madame Oliveira take to Monsieur Blunt marrying her sister? I mean, after all, he was a mere employee of the family business.
I don't know about mere. Alistair was head of our overseas investments department. But I don't think Aunt Julia looked at it like that anyway. They were so obviously crazy about each other. Nobody, of course, knew, but she was already suffering from the disease that killed her 4 years later.
A tragedy.
Yes.
Pardon. I must detain you no longer from your Monsieur Verdi. Monsieur Arnold, I thank you very much for your patience, and I hope that you enjoy the opera.
Thank you.